You know, airplanes, they're statistically the safest way to travel, right? But psychologically? That's a completely different story. See, when you pack hundreds of strangers into a metal tube, seal the doors, and shoot it across the sky, you're not just on a flight, you're in a high-altitude social experiment. And today, we're diving headfirst into some of the wildest real-life meltdowns that have happened at cruising altitude.
And get this, a passenger actually said this during a real confrontation on a flight. We are absolutely going to get to the full story behind that incredible line in a minute, because it perfectly captures the kind of bizarre, intense conflicts that can just erupt in the sky.
So, what's the deal here? What is it about flying that seems to bring out the absolute worst in some people? Is it the stress, a weird sense of entitlement, or is it something else entirely? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out.
I mean, just think about it for a second. You're dealing with serious confinement, maybe a little fear of heights, you're probably sleep deprived, and you have zero privacy. Every single little annoyance, whether it's a crying baby or the person in front of you reclining their seat just a little too far, it feels magnified by 1,000. It's truly the perfect recipe for a meltdown.
Okay, so let's kick things off with our first category of incidents. We're calling this one the entitlement epidemic. This is where, in that high-pressure environment we just talked about, some people's sense of self-importance just completely inflates, and they convince themselves that the normal rules of society and, the airline simply don't apply to them.
So, picture this, a Delta flight back in 2018. A woman gets to her middle seat and immediately starts complaining, loudly, that a mother with a baby is seated next to her. She's demanding compensation, a different seat, the whole shebang. But when that doesn't work, she takes it to a whole new level. She whips out her phone and goes live on Instagram, broadcasting her entire complaint fest to the world. And guess what? The world was watching. Within just 24 hours, her public tantrum had been viewed 2 million times. The result? Yeah, she was removed from the flight and got herself a lifetime ban from the airline.
And believe me, that kind of attitude is not a one-time thing. Fast forward to 2024 on a British Airways flight. A mid-tier influencer boards an economy and immediately marches up to the crew demanding a free upgrade to business class. And her reason? She needed it for content creation.
This was her big pitch. She literally tried to trade exposure for a seat that cost thousands of dollars. When the flight attendant politely said no, she refused to sit down and, you guessed it, started her own live stream. She too was promptly removed from the flight.
All right, our final case of entitlement went down on a Lufthansa flight in 2022. A mother gets on board, decides the assigned seating just doesn't work for her family, and starts demanding that everyone around them get reassigned to fit her perfect arrangement. When that didn't work, she and her husband started physically moving other people's bags.
It got so bad, the woman actually screamed at a passenger who refused to move that the captain had to get involved. The entire family was deplaned, and of course, someone was filming. The video of the whole chaotic scene racked up a massive 12 million views on TikTok.
Okay, so what happens when just being entitled doesn't work? Well, some passengers turn to outright lies. Welcome to the deception gambit.
So we're on an American Airlines flight in 2020. A man in a suit is seated next to a woman with a 6-month-old baby. He immediately calls over a flight attendant and says, very seriously, that he's a physician who needs to work, and therefore the mother and baby should really be moved to economy.
While the flight attendant did a quick little check and discovered his very specialized credentials. Turns out he wasn't a medical doctor for humans. No, he was a veterinary dentist for dogs. The mother and baby stayed right there in business class, and the dog dentist was graciously offered a new seat in economy. And for our last category, we have the passengers whose actions don't just affect their seatmates, but disrupt, and sometimes even endanger, the entire flight. This, my friends, is the public disruption.
So on a Southwest flight, a woman politely asked the man next to her if he could please not eat his peanuts because her child had a severe, life-threatening allergy. His response? That was the quote we started with, "I have an allergy to people." Things just escalated from there, with both of them recording each other, until ultimately both were removed from the flight.
What's so fascinating here is just how divided the internet was. On Reddit's Am I the Asshole forum, the verdict was split exactly down the middle, 50-50. Half the people felt the man had a right to eat his snack, and the other half felt the woman was absolutely right to protect her child. There was just no easy answer.
Now for our grand finale, a business class passenger on Emirates who decided his work was way more important than, say, federal aviation regulations. As the plane was taxiing for takeoff, he was smack in the middle of a loud conference call and just flat out refused to end it.
That was his justification. Despite repeated warnings from the crew and even the captain, he just kept talking. So, the plane literally turned around on the taxiway, went all the way back to the gate where he was removed. And the irony? That $50,000 deal he was so worried about, it fell through anyway.
So what's the thread that ties all of these wild stories together? In the modern world, it's the instant judgment of the internet. Every single flight is a potential stage, and every single passenger has a camera in their pocket.
So when these stories blow up online, especially on a place like Reddit, they're judged with a very specific set of acronyms. You've got NTA, which means not the asshole, YTA for you're the asshole, and my personal favorite, ESH, which means everyone sucks here. And believe me, millions of people will weigh in to deliver the verdict.
So here's the real lesson, right? Anonymity is gone. In the pressure cooker of a modern flight, your actions can be broadcast to millions of people before you even land. And that audience will absolutely have an opinion on your behavior. So, how do you avoid becoming the star of the next viral meltdown video? Honestly, the advice is incredibly simple. Be kind to the people around you. Be quiet and just be aware of your surroundings. And maybe most importantly, just be reasonable. It's truly the best insurance you have to make sure your trip doesn't become the next viral case study.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. You know, all these stories make you wonder about all the unrecorded incidents that must happen every single day. So I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. What's the wildest thing you've ever seen on a plane?